Now let's go put this processing and production information down on the data table. By the way, please do add to where it said cork, that this was reclaimed from wine industry. That is huge. That's awesome. What otherwise would be industrial waste is being used to make these shoes. That is fantastic. Okay, with the production and processing, it was talking about Germany has those laws and regulations for waste recycling. That's cool. And that some parts of these shoes are handmade. Also, yay, awesome. But then there is the machines and fossil fuels that are used in this part of the process. There's also the one particular step that they were mentioned that takes lots of water. Because it's lots, we're going to go under unsustainable for that one. Okay, transportation and distribution. Here they talk about fossil fuels being used to transport stuff. Ew. Then recycled paper makes up their packaging. That's pretty cool. Under embodied energy, it just really, not green, that goes red, just talks about how there's lots of fossil fuels and whatnot to do with that, waste and emissions, carbon emissions, and so forth, the whole problem behind fossil fuels. So under transportation and distribution, I'm going to put, first of all, the Germany factor. Nothing wrong with Germany, but just that it is not local. Okay. And then fossil fuels. They get a little bit of bonus points here because packaging made from recycled paper. Okay, for the next part, sale retail infrastructure, what I want you guys to do is go back to the informed consumerism notes, highlight everything under there, and then paste it into this note and plug the items in where they should. Now, I'm not using Notability, so I can't do that right now, but what I'm going to say is sometimes, I'm sure you could buy Birkenstocks online. That cuts down on a lot of this. But the store itself takes space and so like land space and then heating it, like heating and cooling. Things like parking lots and warehousing, like storage of the products. Now, just to be clear, though, the warehousing is a factor with the store and with online sales. It's just that online sales does not have the actual store space in the parking lots. There's really just the warehousing. Well, there would be parking lots associated with the warehousing distribution centers, wouldn't there? Online cuts down on a little bit of stuff, but it's still not that great. Okay, consumer usage. We do not need to read anything online about that because we know how people use Birkenstocks. They wear the shoes on their feet. There is nothing about wearing the shoes on their feet that would have any environmental impact. Now, you could argue that someone might be wearing those sandals and doing something like dumping toxic sludge out into the environment. Yes, that is bad, but that has nothing to do with them wearing those shoes. Now, with the end user post-consumer, there is a little bit to be said about the information you will find up here, and that there's some good stuff here. The Birkenstock shoes can be resold and recycled. That makes things like that make them last longer. There's also, here it talks about that. Sorry. The soles being resold, and then the cork part also being sealed with the latex, which we already know is the particular type of latex is made from a plant product. That latex is kind of like a glue, and you would paint it like nail polish onto the side of the shoes. That will, well, as it says here directly, prevent rot in the cork, but this makes it last longer, which is, of course, good. Okay, and then obviously if you throw away the shoes, no bueno. Okay, so let's go back down here and write these things in. Let's see. To resole the shoes. Oops, sorry, I spelled that wrong. Resole shoes so they last longer. So then they otherwise would be kaputzed and you wouldn't wear them if you resole them. Then it just goes back to using them longer. Well, I'll also add something about resealing the cork. That is not so bad. Okay, so resoling the shoes, and apparently there's some parts of these that can be recycled. You can look up in the notes on this infographic to learn more about that. We also know, it doesn't mention this, but we know things like these shoes could be donated if they are in good condition, and could be something like hand-me-downs. Then over here with unsustainable, that would be unsustainable if you just throw them away, because that adds to landfill space, which is the land surface that we have available for that is quickly shrinking. Now, taking a look at this overall, and of course, assume that the notes were written in here from up above, but I couldn't copy them over. Moving on. There is a lot of unsustainable stuff on here, but there's also a lot of good sustainable things. And when we really think about Birkenstock sandals and how they can last you your entire lifetime once you're an adult and your feet stop growing, these shoes, I would say, are unsustainable but better than typical because they can last so long and because you can, resole them and reseal the cork. Now, they are made of animal leather, which is unsustainable, but the animal leather does last a really long time, which again goes back to these shoes lasting 40, 50 years as long as you take care of them. So we can go with unsustainable, but better than typical. Now, of course, there are some people that would use these shoes and throw them away pretty quickly. That is an unsustainable behavior.